All right, Ian, we have a Patreon
We do.
poll topic.
Patreon.com/CU podcast.
And what do you get when you sign up for the
you
Patreon?
sign up and you get the full video podcast available to you. You get a monthly hangout, perhaps, if you'd like. Those are always a good time. I do a writing about once a week. What will this week's be? I don't know. Last week was crochet. We'll see. And you get to vote in these poll topics. We got 2 for you.
We have 2 topics, and I just pasted it in right there. Wow. This is a landslide one. My finger's on the pulse right here. In second place at 17%. Doesn't mean it's going away. Would a monetary or other indicator cause you to sell your game collection? 17%. And in first place, what would your lives be like if, in quotes, Pat the NES Punk never took off? Interesting question, Ian.
It is. I don't know. I would, if this had never taken off, I think I would probably be doing something completely different, of course, than I am right now. What a way to state the obvious.
That's it. Next topic.
No.
Next one.
So if I had, if this had not taken off and I had not been able to do Luna part-time, I don't know that I would have stayed at Luna. And if I hadn't stayed at Luna, I don't know what I would be doing for work right now. But I'm not even sure I would still be in San Diego.
Wow. Did the podcast keep you in San Diego?
2 things kept me in San Diego at a time where I was ready to leave, and that was the podcast and my relationship with Vonnie.
The podcast kept you here even before we were making money? Really doing it?
Well, no, but once Vonnie and I basically, decided we were getting married, once this started to take off a little bit, those 2 things were like, okay, I could see myself in San Diego for the next foreseeable future. I was like, instead of thinking about, hey, I might move within the next year or 2, I was like, okay, I'm going to be here for at least another 5-10 years. So
the podcast didn't make any real money for like 2 years.
No,
it didn't take off at all for like a year and a half.
I was going to say about a year in, about a year in was when it started to offer me something that was, a noticeable amount of money in addition to what I was making at Luna.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know what I'd be doing. I can tell you this, though. I wouldn't be doing anything online. I don't think I would be.
No Ian's Happy Handhelds channel? No Twitch? Is there anyone doing handhelds on Twitch? Maybe Ian could do the handhelds on Twitch. There it is.
I enjoy doing...
that might take off.
I enjoy doing this podcast. I enjoy doing Extra Napkins, which is the food podcast I do. But by doing both of these, I really realized how much I don't like filming. I don't like scripts.
You didn't like the Caltron video, Ian?
I don't like scripts. I don't like...
You don't like acting.
I don't like editing.
You're good at acting.
I hate it, though. But thank you. But I don't like it. I don't like editing. So, and I if I could go back and do it all over again, I'd be much more private. Privacy is something that I have learned that I very much enjoy, and I shot most of that to shit early on. So yeah, if I wasn't doing this, I don't think I'd be doing anything online. It's not.
You shot that shit because you did the podcast, or because you incorporated the work life into the podcast?
I incorporated work life into the podcast, but I also I'm just more open. I've been more open online than I think I would be if I had a chance to go back and do it all over again.
But does that really affect you? I mean, does it actually affect you day to day, or is that more just like when you think about it, people in the world know you and like your habits, and it just sort of bothers you?
It affects me enough day to day, especially at work.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyways,
but outside of work, though, do you really care that someone?
No, that doesn't bother me so much. But still, I would be more private than I am now. Yeah. So I don't think I would be doing anything online. I think that's the big takeaway: is if this hadn't taken off, I wouldn't be doing anything online. I'd have very little online presence.
I would just still bump into you every month and talk to you for 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
You never told me to leave. I always appreciate it. Like, no, Pat, you're bothering me. I knew when to step away from the customers. Even when I was crazier 10 years ago, I would not bother the customers. I would just step back.
I really appreciate that too.
I would step back.
I don't mind it when like
Ian got through his day quicker when Pat showed up. Sometimes with Frank, drunk. Yeah. Well, they'll say Frank was mostly drunk when he'd show up at the store. Mostly.
What about you?
That's an interesting question, because to me, the YouTube channel was first and foremost tied to two things: my love of film and one getting to film, and love of collecting games. So it was the marriage of two that started the channel and doing stupid scripted stuff that for some reason people liked. And people were charmed by it, I guess, even though I never really made a living. I did not make a living off it, obviously. So if it never took off, it would not have established the platform in order to do a podcast and in order to do other things and to do books or whatever else. Would I still be able to have done those things? Yes, but then who the hell would have known about a podcast? Who would have known about, to the same extent, like an NES book? It would have been a lot more difficult to market that stuff or people be aware of you. So I don't know. I was at my wit's end with my day job. Ian knows that. I've told the stories before, and it did not make me enough money to put up with it. I don't talk money that much, but if I told you how much I was making doing that day job where I was slaving away and getting no respect for versus now, you'd say, Pat, you're stupid. You should have quit even before that. And I should have. And I almost did. I wanted to quit almost a year after I moved here.
Oh yeah, no, as soon as I knew you didn't want to stay with it.
I moved here in 2009, August, and my plan was to quit within a couple of years. And unfortunately, it was, I quit 2012. So it took me 3 years to quit. That summer, 2012 was when I quit. And I was depressed. And it took me like almost a year to recover. We didn't start the podcast for almost a year.
Yeah.
After I quit. And I still did videos and things like that, but like I was like in my own head at that point. I didn't know. I was directional. I was rudderless at that point and didn't know what direction to go in. There was no Twitch yet or streaming things. YouTube, you still couldn't. It was still you couldn't make that much money on YouTube. It was still blip.tv. So you couldn't. So there was not a lot of options versus even now if you got into it. Mm-hmm. Not a lot. It was totally different. The online digital world in 2012 when I quit my job. I might have said fuck it. I didn't have a huge amount of savings, but I'll take a chance and I'll just dive. And I think about what would happen if I did. I'll just dive into writing and doing that 100%. And I'll just get an agent, try to get an agent. And I had a couple of screenplays written. Maybe I'll write another one and then try to shop them and go that traditional route. Because that's why I moved out to San Diego. I probably would have done that and seeing where that would have got me, or try to write a book. But again, it's like it's so hard to get your foot in the door, even if you're a good writer, just because there's so many writers. You know, I have the book on my wall still. It's like, literary agents list from like 2008 or 7 that my sister got. So like, I would have found something to do. It's just, what would I have found? Would I have stayed with somewhat the entertainment side, since I had done a radio show even back in college? So I was used to it. I knew I was good at it, and I can carry a radio show or a podcast. Or would I have just went, fuck it, fall off the map, you won't know who I am, and I'll just be a writer, and you'll find that out. Which is funny, because now I do write, and I end up writing other things, but I don't make money writing fiction, which was my goal in coming out to San Diego, was to make money writing fiction. I have not made money writing fiction. I write the scripts for the NES Punk videos, but that doesn't count. I mean, like, actually writing fiction.
Sure.
I guess you can say in a roundabout way I have, because you write your own videos, or you write some of the AVGN videos, and you put words in Frank's mouth in videos, and so but you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to sell a screenplay. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sell a book, which I still can do. I still want to write a book. I still want to write it. Before the pandemic, my goal was, if I didn't have all this other stuff going on, I wanted to write a children's book and a children's adventure book, and I still want to do that. Because that's what I used to do when I was a kid. I used to write adventure short stories.
That'd be fun.
So that'd be fun. And it wouldn't require a huge amount of time. And so maybe if in a few years, maybe my life's in a different spot. Maybe I go back to that as a goal. Maybe. Here's the thing. It's harder to have these goals and things you want to try when you live in an area where it costs a lot of money to live.
Sure.
Obviously. So you have to more take care of yourself first, before you can, if you're living somewhere else where it's $700 a month for rent. Yeah, that's a lot different than San Diego. That's a lot different.
Yeah.
Or $700 a month for a mortgage, or $1,000 for a mortgage, which there are places in the U.S. that are that cheap. When I hear that, I'm like, wow, I should live there. Like, what am I doing? I should live there. I'll bring Ian along. We'll do the podcast, and the podcast makes the same amount of money no matter where it records from. But living's a lot cheaper, and that's probably what Ian alluded to. It's like, well, I could have been gone because San Diego is not cheap to live. So, would you have found another podcast, Ian, if there wasn't a CU podcast?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I would have done anything.
But you wouldn't have been working at Luna. So I kept you working at Luna in a way.
In a weird roundabout way. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Interesting.
But you didn't go part-time for years after the podcast. You were still working mostly full-time.
I think it was 2 years.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up to 2. I think.
All right.
Yeah, anyway.
All right. Is that a good enough answer?
Yeah.
I still would have had nice hair, though. I think that's... No?
I think you would have gotten the hair.
The hair... not that I was going bald because of my high stressful job, but stress kills you.
It does.
It kills your mind. It kills your body. It kills your immune system. Stress fucks you up, and they're still discovering the ways it like ruins your body. So I'm not saying if you have a stressful job to quit tomorrow, but think about how much
work on it.
But think about how much happier you would be even if you made a little bit less money if you can do something else where you're happy doing it. That's what I always try to tell people. Just
when I first started working at Luna, when I went full time at Luna, I took a big hit on money because I was waiting tables and doing catering before that. And,
a lot of tips, a lot of cash. Right?
And if you're good at it, and I don't mean to fucking...
I want you to be my waiter one day.
I don't mean to blow myself, but I was a pretty good waiter, and you can make money, and I
Sure.
did. I made a lot of money waiting tables, and to go from... But it's high fucking stress work, and after over a decade of doing it, I was done with it. I would have rather have taken less money but bankable money than work another day waiting tables.
So you were in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
But you actually were making more money with your first job, previous job, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was not.
Sure.
I could not afford a house with that job. If I was still at that job by this point, I guess I would have moved up. I would still be I don't think I'd be making six figures even at that job. And for San Diego, that's not enough to buy a house.
Right.
Like unless you have a partner that's also making around that. That's what it comes down to. So, but thank you all for the support, especially on the Patreon. Appreciate that as well. Patreon helps as well.
That's right.
We should have got the Patreon going a little bit sooner. We didn't do the Patreon for like 2 years.
I know.
And that didn't even take off for like a year. So patreon.com/CU Podcast.